Hey ladies, happy Sunday. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. Hope you guys had an amazing week. I had a really good week, so I am really thankful, really happy. Hope you guys have an amazing week this coming week. I'm not going to really go into small talk this morning because I want to get the message out and get it to you without too much small talk. I'll kind of do the small talk on the back end today. So today the message is titled, God, make this make sense. God, make it make sense. Um, I'm not using any index cards or anything. This is going to be more of a conversation that I think we all need to have. I'm sort of piggybacking off of last week's blog post. I'm not sure if you guys, if you read it or not. It was titled God's Providence, or no, I'm sorry, it's titled Divine Providence. And so let me just talk about providence real quick, just to kind of set the tone here. So, providence, or God's providence, or divine providence, is the way that God orchestrates things. It's the strategy, it's the way that He plans things and sets things forward in our lives. And so, divine providence is really God's divine way of planning and orchestrating things in our lives. The reason that I wanted to do this title, Make It Make Sense, or God Make It Make Sense, is because oftentimes as humans, we try to rationalize and we try to reason and figure everything out. And God is very clear in His word that His thoughts and His ways are not like ours. And so I feel like we do ourselves a disservice when we sit and try to figure things out from a human perspective, from the perspective of human logic and reasoning. Um, Let me just say this. So, oftentimes I've heard people say a person has book smarts but not common sense, right? And common sense is really just your ability to understand what is the most logical thing to do in a situation. So, some people know from the standpoint of academics what the educational response is, but they don't know what the common, the most logical answer is, or the most logical response. That's common sense. And so that's where you're trying to use human logic to rationalize and make something make sense, or make it make sense to your human ability to comprehend it. The reason I wanted to do God make it make sense is because so many people are struggling in so many areas. I'm reminded this past week, this is not really what the video was about, but it's interesting how stuff happens and I'm able to sort of loop it into the message. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with who Ricky Smiley is. He's a comedian. And so it was found out this past week, I think it was this week or the week before, his son passed away. Now, because a couple of things, because he's a guy and because he's a comedian, he's been on like all over YouTube talking about it. And it's not an easy thing to watch, or to listen to for that matter, because when somebody's a comedian, you used to always seeing them laugh and smile and joking. And so to see him in this matter, mourning the death of his son, is like really hard to watch. But excuse me. I haven't watched any of the videos in full, but I've watched a couple of them. And there was one in particular that he was talking about. He was saying he feels like he is literally living in a nightmare. He's like, there are no monsters, there's nothing chasing after me. He was like, but I literally feel as though I'm literally living in a nightmare. And never once did he question God. He never, like what I'm saying, like God make it make sense. At least in the videos, he's never questioned God. He seems to be a God-fearing man, but you can tell he is definitely beyond hurt. And I don't know fully the official reason of death. I'm hearing things, and this is speculation, that he overdosed. I'm hearing that it's something with pills. I don't know that to be a fact, but I do get the sense from Ricky Smiley's videos that it wasn't something where he was sick. You know how, like, like if a person gets cancer or has cancer and the doctor has given them 3 or 4 months to live, not that it's easier to let go, because when a person dies and it's not easy to let go ever, but it's easier because you're prepared for it, right? So you start to like get your affairs in order with the person. You start to, it's harder when it happens abruptly, right? You don't expect it. It's just like, whoa, and so I think that it makes it 10 times worse when you are not prepared for it. And I get the sense that whatever the cause of death was not something that he knew was going to happen. Like I said, with a cancer victim or someone that's been sick, if the doctor is getting, more than likely, some people like literally recover, but if the doctor is giving the person 4 or 5 months to live, you start mentally preparing yourself for their transition. But this didn't seem like that at all. I don't know the cause of death. And so, like I said, this is all hearsay and speculation. But it really made me think about when, not just death, but the guy was 32 years old, so he was young. And, to be just put into a situation like this, just out of nowhere, you living your life, you're doing what you normally do, and then boom, you get this call that your son has died. I can't even imagine. And so I really, before I go on with the video, really want to just offer my heartfelt condolences to his family and to him. But he's been on social media a lot. And I don't know if that's his way of grieving. Everybody grieves differently. So, but he's been on there a lot since it's happened. And it's really hard to watch because, like I said, you're used to him being a comedian and laughing and joking. So to see him in this pain and just hurting, it's not an easy task to watch. But in any case, it led me to really think about this video and God make it make sense. And what I've come to realize, and it just doesn't have to be the death of a loved one. It could be anything. You could be, you could lose your job. You could, be going through a horrible breakup, a horrible divorce. It's so many things that from a human perspective don't make sense. And like I said, I think you do yourself a disservice by questioning God and questioning why God made or allowed this to happen in your life. That's where you have to trust God's divine providence. I know it's easier said than done. And trust me, I know we've all been in situations. And if you haven't been in one, trust me, if you live long enough, you'll be in one. You will be in a predicament where you will try to use your own human logic to try to figure out and make it make sense. And like I said, you do yourself a disservice. So what I want to talk about today is a different perspective. And instead of saying, God, make it make sense, I think your prayer and your conversation with God should be, God, give me the ability to be able to make peace with whatever it is that I'm dealing with. The Bible says that he will give you peace that surpasses all understanding. And I really want to talk about this because most people focus on the peace. Obviously, you want the peace, right? But look at the second part, peace that surpasses all understanding. So that means that you want peace to the point that you're no longer trying to understand why it happened. You just want to be at peace and trust in God's divine plan. You want to get to a point where you're at peace with it. You're no longer questioning and trying to use human logic and reasoning to make it make sense to you, to your ability to comprehend it, right? So instead of saying, God, make it make sense. And then the other thing is when you start doing that, what you also start to do is you start in your brain thinking, what could I have done differently? What could I have said? What could I, and you would drive yourself crazy by doing that because you're trying to, in your human ability to comprehend it and make sense of it, you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. What did I miss? What did I not do? What did I not say? And you would drive yourself crazy. So instead of going in that realm and trying to make sense of some things that just simply are never going to make sense to the human mind, I think your prayer should be, like I said, God, give me peace that surpasses all understanding. Peace to the point that I no longer am trying to understand it, but I'm learning to be okay with it. It is well with my soul. I am okay with it. I don't feel good about it, but I'm okay with it. I have peace with it, and I'm letting go of the thought of trying to comprehend it or to understand it. The other thing is, I would encourage you to do is, one of the things that I've learned, and I've said this over and over again in these videos, is that faith is our currency in God's system. Faith is our currency in God's system. So not only do you want to ask God for peace that surpasses all understanding, you also want to ask God to strengthen you and give you a level of faith that allows you to rest in him and rest in his choices and rest in his decisions. Your faith has to come up to that level so that you can trust him. You can trust him even though you don't understand him. You can trust him even though you don't understand him. You're no longer trying to make sense of it. You are now at a point where, okay, God, give me peace within it so I don't try to understand it, and then raise my level of faith to a point that I can trust you even when I don't comprehend and cannot rationalize in my human mind why X, Y, and Z is happening in my life. You want to get your faith up, because then a lot of times, God will close one door, and it may not be the easiest thing for that door to close, but he may want to open up a new door. But he cannot open up the new door if you're still stuck on trying to figure out why the old door was shut. At some point, you have to have faith in him and just say, okay, I don't understand it. I don't comprehend it. It does not make sense. But I trust you, God, that if you close this door, it is for a reason. Now help me to have the faith, the ability to trust you and moving forward so that the next season, the next door opens up for me. And that's where you have to get to. Now, before I end the video, I want to talk about a couple of stories in the Bible that kind of go along with this theme. So if you look at the lady that had the issue of blood. Now, it says she had this issue of blood for 12 years. Now, it doesn't say if she had it every day, every month. I don't know, but she had it for 12 years. Now, hopefully I'm not giving you TMI, too much information, but as women, you guys know, every month we have an issue with blood, and I'm going to leave it at that. But I can't even imagine if it was every single day for 12 years. Oh, my Lord Jesus Christ. I'm sure that lady is like, okay, God, this ain't making sense. Why am I the one dealing with this issue of blood for 12 years? Like, come on. And I'm paraphrasing. But in today's terminology, that's probably likely what she was saying, But she understood when Jesus came out, it was a crowd of people around him. And she understood that she needed to get to him. She needed to get to him because she needed this issue resolved, okay? So what she did is she pushed her way through the crowd and she touched the hem of his garment. But let me be clear. It wasn't that she touched the hem of his garment. The Bible says that her faith is what made her whole. So she understood the ability to get to Jesus. I got to just touch him. And she understood how significant and important her faith was and being able to go to that next level so that she could be made whole. So just imagine if she didn't do that and she just sat at home and was like, man, I don't understand. Why me, God? And this ain't making sense. Make it make sense, God. Why am I the one dealing with the issue of blood for 12 years? Yada, yada, yada. She would never have been made whole. You can't dwell on, I know it's easier said than done. You cannot dwell on why it happened. You can't dwell on trying to figure out and your own human comprehension why it happened. You will drive yourself nuts. Period, point blank. The other story I want to talk about is Job. Job was a righteous man. He was a man that was, he basically had a heart. His heart was resembled God. He was a man after God's own heart. He was a righteous man. Satan is going around the world, the earth, and trying to find somebody to pick on. Why would God say, hey, have you considered my servant Job? This man was righteous. This man was living his life the way he was supposed to live it. And he offered, God volunteered Job. Does that make sense? No, that doesn't make sense. Not whatsoever. It doesn't make sense to our human comprehension, because why would God take the person that is honoring him, serving him, glorifying him, and say, okay, here, take Job? It doesn't make sense. Satan put that man through HE double hockey sticks for years, and God allowed it. Does that make sense? No. And Job could have been like, man, make it make sense. And I'm going to be honest, his friends was like, you know what? After a while, they was like, you know what? Just curse that God and die. Even his own wife told him to curse God. Like, seriously, like, dude, you got some crazy faith if you still believe in God, because, I mean, he didn't let you go. I mean, he lost his kids, lost everything he had, got sick. I mean, he just went through it all. It didn't make sense, right? But he never lost his faith. He kept believing in God. He said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. So in other words, even if he hurts me, even if I can't comprehend it, even if I don't have to comprehend it, I still trust him. And that is where your faith has to get to. So as you're moving forward, and everybody, we all go through things. And a lot of times it just is not going to make sense to your ability, your human ability to comprehend it. You're not going to figure it out. So you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to figure it out, getting mad, getting frustrated. God, make it make sense. It ain't never going to make sense to your brain, because you are not meant to comprehend it. You are meant to walk in faith and trust him. And even if it's uncomfortable, even if it don't make sense, you are to trust him. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Your faith has to get to the point that's your currency, because as God closes one door in his divine providence and his divine orchestration of your life, he has a plan for your life. And you can't sit there and rationalize and use human reasoning to figure it out. His thoughts and his ways are not like ours. So please, the next time you find yourself saying, God, make it make sense, give that up. Because there are certain things that you're just going to deal with in life that just simply are not going to make sense to you. And that's where your faith has to come up, and you have to get your faith to a level where you can fully, unequivocally trust him. I pray that this message has blessed you. I pray that it has encouraged you, it has inspired you, it has uplifted you as you go forward. Whatever you find yourself facing in the weeks and months to come, always remember that God is with you every step of the way. He does have divine providence. He has a way that he orchestrates and plans our lives. It is not up to us to try to figure it out. It is up to us to trust him and believe him, and know that he would never leave us nor forsake us, and that he has only our best interest at heart. And in the moments it does feel tough, it feels horrible. You know, like I was talking about Ricky Smiley. I can't even imagine losing a child. I don't have kids, but especially when it's abruptly, you're not expecting it. Your whole world gets turned upside down. And like I said, he's a man of faith. He's a man that believes in God, or at least that's what I gathered from his videos. Yeah, and things like that will cause you to question God. It will cause you to be like, why God? This doesn't make sense. And in the beginning, I think that's fine, because you're just so overwhelmed and so hurt by it. But at some point, you have to give up on trying to figure it out. And you just have to trust him. You have to trust in his divine providence. So we're no longer going to say, God, make it make sense. We're going to say, God, give me peace that surpasses all understanding. Make my heart at peace so that I don't have to try to comprehend it or make it make sense. I just have to trust you and know that you have my back, my front, my left, my right, that you will never leave me nor forsake me. And that if you close one door, it is because you are preparing me. And I have to be willing and ready and have my faith up to the level of being ready to walk into a new season. I love you guys. I pray that this video has blessed you. You guys have an amazing, amazing week ahead. I will be doing a video next week, probably the next couple of weeks, to be honest. And I don't know what I'm going to do going forward. I'm still trying to get this blog interview back to this guy. I've started it, but I've been working a lot more hours. So it's kind of like I'm trying to kind of hit or miss. I'm trying to make sure I rest so I'm not overworked. And then probably within the next week or two, I am going to start getting my information out for the ladies that I'm planning on or would like to interview, so that I can start maybe in March, maybe March or April, get my first blog interview out. So that is it. Hope you guys have an amazing, amazing Sunday. And I will see you guys next week. You know the drill. Until we meet again. Katalan Banawit. Peace out.